Good evening, it's Joyful Christian Mystic Hermit. I had a video today and it kept taking hours and hours and hours and it wasn't loading, and I realized I had somehow um, eliminated it. So it took me probably 6 hours to realize that. Um, I've got another poem, and then but I have other things to talk about. And it has to do with remembering and realizing that Advent waiting, while we're waiting, God is clearing things out of us and continues to mold us and move us and show us truths that we have to face, that He wants us to face. And for us, people like us, it can be very, very painful. I had a very upsetting morning, very upsetting. And it was based on something from last night, an interaction. And something said, something that I had texted that I meant very loving and very building up, and a memory that also, just really marked the special aspects of someone. But that person took it as negative and brought it up and said, I had occasion to be with the person, a couple of people last night, and I even put on eyebrows and stuff, which the person noticed, and some makeup, and was so happy that I looked better, for what made an effort. But that I had said this, and the other person took it totally wrong from what I meant, from my good and loving intentions. And the look on the person's face of great hurt. And it just, of course, I see and sense things so clearly. Just a look, a glance, the eyes, the mouth, the way the mouth was, it was just agony. And I felt just horrible. But I just, I stuffed it in for then, other than said, well, no, I meant that positively. But there were other jabs made that I get used to, but they still are jabs, still stabs, and reminders that I'm not normal and that it's not acceptable that I'm not normal. Are accepted, but not wanted, not liked, really, not preferred. And being normal was wished for, and the whole perspective is how out of touch I am, and it's been years of this, and even from within the Catholic Church, from different parishioners, it can be, oh, she's crazy, or she's strange, or just different viewpoints of people. Or I'm sure at the end, I know that bishop who then died was mocking the ecstasy, thought that I was somehow, just really demeaned it. And he was in trouble. But it was sad. Because they couldn't figure it out, the temporal aspects. And that's the problem with being spiritual, whether you're a mystic or a contemplative. Once you move through and grasp the spiritual of church and of God and of the reason we're here, to learn to love, and it's God's love, not our love, not our kind of love. Our kind of love always falls short. Well, look at the love I was trying to give. It fell short because it was misinterpreted, misunderstood by the person I sent the love to, the support. From that person's perspective, just the fact that I was building them up and pointing out, their attitude and their, even from in the crib, etc., memories, and the nickname, rainbow baby, rainbow child, always cheerful, getting through whatever, just smart and very so selfless and giving a lot of the self. And But that all that was interpreted as, well, I was saying those things because she was so down, So it made it all negative then, from her perspective. Like the reason that I was building her up was because she was so down, and that evidently she had shown, made it seem like she felt sorry for herself or whatever, which no, she hadn't. But I'm extra perceptive, extra sensory perceptive. I can see these things going, anybody could, but I especially. And I knew about situations. And, it just, and so yes, I was building up because I saw the persecution and the tough knocks that were being delivered because God wanted to protect a soul from a wrong, which is a good thing. That's a positive. And I wrote that. But I think if you then view, oh, well, she's just so gone with God, so different and, over the top, over the edge. See, then it all becomes negative. Depends on the person's perspective. So what I did then ended up not registering as love. I hadn't thought through which one who loves must do. God's pure love anticipates and perceives what the reaction or where that person is and how they, what they need. But it's just me. I have noticed that. Other people can encourage and feel, build up and all, but I can't. It's the relationship. And it's the life of growing up with someone that they admire growing up a great deal. But then as adults, realize that our kind of life is filled with sufferings. So I was even told that I just think that way, that everybody else, because I live my life because as if life isn't fair, as if it never fair for me. So that's why I would think in those terms for her. Oh no, erase that one. Erase that one. I know God allows me all these things happening to get me right where He wants me so that I can fulfill my mission and my purpose. And suffering is part of it. And so I am given suffering. So I had read this poem I had chosen for today that pertained partly to this, includes, being the misunderstanding that can be so really painful for people like us. We're misunderstood all the time. We're outside the loop to them and of no real worth or value, particularly, because it doesn't seem that we have any effect on the temporal world. And family, breaks off, although I have one that stays in, hangs in. The character the person has is a good character and stays for the duty of it. Out of the kindness and out of responsibility as my healthcare representative and power of attorney and stuff, and feels that responsibility and takes it seriously. I'm grateful, and that redounds to her credit, her character. Because the other two have just fled, couldn't tolerate, didn't want to, didn't want this kind of mother, and gone, cut off. And the one very angry, and ugly about it. The other one not ugly about it, at least not to me anyway. and but gone, cut off totally. So but so I had that video, and then after I had it post, thinking it was going to post anytime, here comes this comment from someone who had seen our little cyber community, these videos and things, and your comments and the interactions, and but had gotten upset with something I had said or done, or I don't know, talked about or something, disagreed with, and had left. And I vaguely remember, because the person since, just a day or two ago, connected and reconnect and said, that your videos have come before me yet again, and I need them. I realize I need them, and apologized for whatever, being nasty to me before. Something. I have no clue. I don't remember. It's one advantage of my arachnoiditis brain. I don't remember. And already, see, with the situation that I was sobbing around about this morning, just having to face reality. Reality is painful. But once I faced it, I realized, oh, thank you, Lord, because God wants me more for himself, and not splitting off into the splinters of the temporal world, and not involved with someone's life when they don't want me to be. They don't even want me to read what they write online, and especially not say anything to them about it, like that was really wonderful, or well. But other people online can write. Even I'm not to leave comments. I learned that lesson, and I don't. Every now and then I'll slip up, and I'll immediately take it off and apologize. Oh, I forgot. I put a comment on your post, and I took it off because she probably saw it. I didn't want to be in trouble, big trouble. So, or upset. And even my moniker, Joyful Hermit moniker, doesn't like that. Doesn't want people to know that, I'm religious, or, it's really become an extreme thing. It's become a thing, an issue, deep down in. And I embrace that. I understand it. I understand it's an issue. It's ingrained in there. It's not going to go away. And I just need to cooperate and try to make it better. Remove any of the upsets. And I have to accept that that one's around out of being able to tolerate and knowing the right from the wrong, knows it's right to hang in and, handle my death things and all. I don't know how it'll be if I live 10 years longer or something. That I don't know. I can't imagine how that's going to work out. But I just trust in God, and if not, there's other people who would do the things for me. The power of attorney and the other, with some pay, with money included when I die. So, we'll see. I don't know. But I know then that I see things that probably hurt, that I don't realize I'm saying. I think I did mention that I sort of wait and see if I have to have this surgery. It might be best for me to stay in this house because my neighbor checks on me. Well, I think that offended, but the reality is that people who work won't be able to check on me. She doesn't work. She's retired. And part of her church is big on service. So she likes to help people. It's important for her, part of her religious way for salvation, a more works-oriented salvation. So, and I pay, I pay. Not a lot, but I pay, I don't pay what it would cost if I had to have some live-in person. So, but, and I do know, I think if I would exercise more, that would help me. Exercise at all. I've just become very tired, very tired. The toe was hurting extra much today. I thought it was infected, sent a photo, and it's not, but it sure felt it and looked it, but this doctor from the photo said no, so that it's okay, that's just healing. So that was a relief. I admit I can get a little freaked out that I'm getting an infection or have one and will have septic shock again. That, that wasn't a fun time last June. So, but here come, so this person says, I need this, I need these videos, I'm sorry. I wrote back, apologized if I had reacted at all to whatever it was she had done. I don't remember anything of it. And, that was accepted, and because she couldn't remember how I reacted or anything. So all is well. And then wrote a little more about her situation. And she's going to be loved here in our cyber community. She's had unbelievable sufferings and sorrows. A daughter was very ill in ICU and died. But while in ICU, her other daughter, they were together there, and the mother had said something that she regretted that upset the other daughter. And the other daughter left the hospital. The mother has spent, I don't know if it's been 2 years or 3 years, for asking forgiveness, but the daughter won't answer. Phone has blocked the phone like my son has. But this is worse because I still have one that will communicate with me, and did eventually tell me even that she shouldn't have said anything. She should have known better that it would upset me or rile me up or something, and just to stuff it in. No, I think get it out. That's how I know. That's how I know things. And then I have to accept the reality of the relationship because I always want to think it's more, And I start leaching out into the temporal, right what God even told me in words, why he kept me hindered with suffering, because I too easily get back out into the world. And I was getting back out into the world on the shoes of this daughter and her life. And God didn't want that. So I recognize this, that God yet again was, no, stay more focused on your mission and your purpose. She's reared. She's doing well. And she's got loads of friends, people that are supporting her, that she's not upset with if they support her. She doesn't think that's negative. But mine, yes. So it's ingrained, it's just a no-go. And I fully accept it now, and it doesn't upset me now, because I can see what God's doing with this for me, what he wants of me, and what he wants of me for my type of people, for my world, the spiritual world, of which this woman who's had this lost, and then her other daughter died, then her husband died, and then on top of all that, she's got a very rare foot ailment that the feet are so painful she cannot walk on them. I mean, not hobble even. Has to use a scooter. Doesn't drive, can't go places. And she's lost her friends. Well, I know how that is. Now, I still can say I have friends. Every now and then they'll call or something. But the spiritual friend, she doesn't have. She has a husband, and he's wonderful, and they have become so holy together, this man and wife. But the friend has schizophrenia, hereditary um, paranoid schizophrenia. And it's hard for people with that to have friends. There's a stigma, and she'd been so severe. It's been about 12 or 13 years ago, 13. She had to have brain shocks, and it wiped out chunks of memory, parts of brain use, and I mean, physically she can do all, but her days are very routine. She's brilliant and reads, but speaking, it's difficult. It altered her. It altered her personality. She still has a good sense of humor, and, but it's hard. And she doesn't go places. And there's an affect change in her, too, from those shock treatments. And her husband stays, with her, stays in the home, because if her medicines aren't quite right, and it's hard to judge sometimes, she has to have her meds checked frequently. Because one time, I think it's been 2 years ago, or maybe 3 years ago, probably, at least 3 it was, he'd run one short errand, didn't realize her medication needed readjusting and it wasn't working properly. And voices had started telling her to kill herself. And so she gave it her best try. He got back home just in the nick of time to they got her to ICE. She was in ICU quite a while, touch and go, but she made it. So he cannot leave. But I mean, her meds, and the doctor felt bad. They need to check it more often, check her med levels in her system, because it can shift. It's not exact science, and her life depends on those meds. And she knew she wasn't wanting to for any other reason other than voices started in from the schizophrenia, from the illness. And as her husband and I, we had emailed, had looked back, we could see little signals, but we didn't register. Little slippage of little bits here, and it was hard to tell. It is hard to tell with people. So, so that's why she and I she's not a mystic, but she's incredibly holy and a contemplative now. She's grown into being a contemplative, and really, she and her husband are sort of like hermits in a way, except technically not. They aren't living in solitude, but they are both on the road to sanctification. And I consider her a mentor, like many of you I consider mentors for me. She has gone way beyond where I am spiritually. It's exciting. I'm thrilled. And it just inspires me so much to see what effort and what desire does for us. So here's this. So that's my friend. And I have a cousin who's homebound, and she calls every now and then and likes to hear my religious take on things or my spiritual view on problems, or for me to pray for different situations, which I'm praying for a big one now in her family that needs to be worked out. And I'm praying for a couple of people in her family to work it out. So, asking God to help in big way. and they're angels. But here's this woman that has returned to the videos. So I realized, I wrote to her back. I said, "Oh, I had just done this poem that suits you. It's what's going on. The suffering that she's been through." She sends gifts to her daughter and letters and things, and the daughter wouldn't read them, but she does accept the gifts, but she only knows where the address. She sends them to her mother, this woman's mother, who lives near or knows near her daughter, and the daughter then will pick up the presents from her grandmother, but won't acknowledge or anything to her mother. No communication. That's like my eldest and definitely like my son, except I stopped sending the gifts to the son because I don't even know if he uses them, if he tosses or what. But he's blocked my phone and everything, so I can't call. Blocked all social media. I don't know anything about him. And I realized, well, that's just as well, in a way, because it only inflicts more anguish. So this woman, her name's Michelle. You can read in the comments her life story. It's just, and just really just disheartened and broke my heart. Except I wrote, "You've come to the right place. You are going to be loved here." She has no friends, as I mentioned. Her feet are in such agony. This rare foot disease she's got. She's alone and just in her home most of the time. And I know how friends drop away when you can't be active with them. You're not in their world anymore. And in a way, if they do try to interact, we can sense too, that they are doing it out of a duty or something. It's a loving duty, but often they don't. They can't keep it up. Just like my kids can't the one keeps up relationship out of a sense of duty and decency and her good character. And they all, I'm sure her daughter loves her in a certain way, but was so offended and doesn't know how to forgive. My eldest daughter and son do not know how to forgive. Absolutely do not know how to forgive. And if someone doesn't know how to forgive, they can't. And so they all we can do is pray for them, love them, forgive them, but then we have to go on and live our lives. I had to go through that again this morning, reminding myself, but also knowing that God had allowed this latest situation, this big, like, boom, wake up. I don't want you out in that world like you have been. So attaching to it. Stay here. Stay with me. Do your mission. Do your ministry. Do your purpose here. And clean up a little bit more in your house while you're at it. That was the message. And so he had to curtail me, and it hurts. It hurts when we're curtailed until we see God needed to for our good, for what he wants of us. He's got great things in store for Michelle. I know it. I see the pattern. And her suffering, even with her husband then dying, he isolated her out. And she says she spends her days talking to Jesus all day long. Day and night, talks to Jesus because that's her contact. How wonderful is that? But she feels so alone. I get it, don't we all? And she's going to be utilized by God for something big. And it can be very tiny. When I mean big, in God's realm, it can be tiny. To him, something tiny can be so important and vast, or it might be important and vast. We don't know. Doesn't matter, but he's going to use her. He's already has been. Because she turned to him and is talking with him, talking with Jesus. And I bet you he's talking with her too. She didn't explicitly. I didn't read the second part yet. She has another section I can't wait to read. And just see yet again how God works. That helped me, reminded me why God was, causing the boom to be lowered on me by this other daughter, doesn't want me involved. I am an odd, I'm just not a fit into her world and a concern. She has a business, a reputation. Here's this quirky mother that I don't see it in myself, but other people do. So, even I guess how I leave comments or speak or something is evidently different. So I've been told by my family, so my kids. So it's just how it goes. But we have a place. So here's this is dedicated to Michelle, and I'm excited for Michelle. I'm sorry, very, very sorry for the suffering that she's had. But I wrote this in this comment to her, you won't be lonely here with our cyber community of spiritual life, people in love with God, contemplatives, mystics, whatever. You're welcome here. And you will be understood because we are like you. and it's wonderful. We have a niche. We have a place. And here's the poem. And I was sad this morning, and I think Michelle's sad. But not for long. There's love here among us misfits, or the maligned, us maligned people, the ones who have been hurt and haven't been forgiven. We've made mistakes with family members or whatever it is, and our family person can't forgive, or however it is, or combination of things. God wants us for himself, for something in the back out in the world, or between he and the person, God and the person. And I think with us, most of it, you guys can leave comments. You've lived sufferings, but you can recognize ways that God has honed you and formed you and brought you out and set you aside for his will and his wishes. And much of it has to do with God wanting us in union with him and learning pure love and learning it in the cocoon, our metamorphoses in the cocoon. And I'll just read the poem and you'll follow along. And there's 3 times that Jesus spoke to me, 3 times I spoke to him, and this is an old poem. It's cyclical. This type of stuff is cyclical with us. This was back in March 96. that this poem came out. Sadness hangs upon the cross as suffering bleaches bones, like splattering crimson tears, and I am in the splinters. And this every other time it's God speaking and me speaking. So this is God. Nothing wrong with sadness, dear. Another form of painful joy that comes from me to you, a gift I cherish you to bear. This cross, dear Jesus, burns and smells of putrid death, weighs me down, desperate but caged, no running away. Be still, my love, and outweight the weight of loneliness. Hold misunderstanding high, like a torch in the night. I'm not sure I can carry any more sorrow, Lord, or hold my thoughts within, nor endure the icicle thorns. With that, I thought of our artist had a photograph on her online of these big, spiking, spearing icicles. She's up in northeast of the United States. They had a lot of snow and cold, and these huge icicles she had taken photographs of. I thought of those when I read that. I'm not sure I can carry any more sorrow, Lord, or hold my thoughts within, nor endure the icicle thorns. Here's God saying, you are holding up well, sad raindrop, my little butterfly who wants to fly free, but must first be frozen. Embrace the bitter cold. That is all. That's how God ended that. Embrace, but first you must first be frozen. Embrace the bitter cold. That's all. And consider what being frozen is. It's put out of commission for a while. And I thought of Michelle this past year or two of being in her home, especially the last year, when her feet totally went too much pain to even get up and stand and hobble around on in her home. She's frozen. Well, what somebody frozen? I also then thought of cocoon. Being frozen, and then you thaw. God will thaw out. And then things will be better. And there'll be greater understanding of why the person had to be frozen for a time. It's like a metamorphosis. Spring will come, the thaw will come, and pretty soon we won't be frozen anymore. We will be free to act, free to grow, free to love, free to seek our purpose and start living it in a different way. Doesn't mean that Michelle's feet are going to be miraculously healed, but it could, but maybe not. Or that she's going to have all kinds of friends in her social life come back to her. Or even that the one daughter that's cut her off for now and cut off harshly can't forgive. Don't know how that's going to turn out. But now all of Michelle's friends here among us, we're practicing love. We're learning to love, God's kind of love. Welcome, Michelle. She's going to be loved by us. She's got friends now through our little cyber community. and will contribute. We're all learning. I'm learning so much from you guys. All your comments and things, it's help and prayers, and it's so there'll be a thaw, and whoever is frozen, myself included, we will start to melt. Carol, the one viewer, she had a terrible sickness, an awful flu, sick for I don't know 9 or 10 days maybe. I know at day 7 she still couldn't get up. She had left a comment. She was frozen by the sickness for a while, and in that time period of being frozen, who knows what all got worked in with her mind or her thoughts or her art or her soul to get back to her brush. She's an artist, to get back to her painting and to paint beautiful, gorgeous, inspirational, and she paints spiritually. It's a spiritual themes and spiritual beauty that she paints, a very gifted artist. And others too among us. Those who pray, those who pray so deeply, ecstatic prayer, people with great wisdom who have gravitated to our cyber community of the spiritual, of God, of love, and Christianity, but also open to those who have been influenced, like the poetry of Rumi we talked about. And who was another one we read? Well, John Donne, his poetry, Anglican Church of England. So it's so far. I think Michelle has, God brought her to the right place. At least I feel like I've become friends with all of you. Like kind, it feels good. It helps. Jesus had his, he had his group, and then Jesus was gone and his group remained. And there have been groups ever since of Christians or of people who are learning love. Was that the two people? Was it Desmond Tutu and somebody else? I forget. The Book of Joy, it was called. I think it South African someone, maybe it was Bishop Desmond Tutu or something, and another leader from another world religion. And they got together and they had talks, and a book was made out of it called the Book of Joy. And they had a unity of thought about joy. So we have already had unity of thought about love. Rumi, the Muslim Sufi, has a book, the Book of Love. And it's very similar to a lot of the early Christian mystics' writings of love. And Rumi was in some of the countries centuries after, like John Climacus wrote his great book, The Ladder of Divine Ascent. He was Syrian, but he'd gone other places. He'd gone to, what was the mountain? Now I can't remember it again, but second time I can't remember it, but a very holy mountain that the Muslims consider a holy mountain. The Christians have the very early ancient monastery of St. Catherine, and the Jewish people have great religious significance with that mountain, Sinai. Mount Sinai, I think it is. And so Rumi in the 13th century would have at some point in time gone there or been familiar, But that's where John Climacus was back in the 6th century, 5th and 6th, crossed over centuries, with his classic writing, The Ladder of Divine Ascent. And some of what Rumi wrote about or spoke of or had in his repertoire were steps. He had a diagram. I think it was of 7 steps of some sort. 7 is a holy number. But of how to get to union with God. And Rumi was the one then who established spiritual life for the Muslims, for Islam, their mystical wing, their spiritual views developed. And Rumi pioneered that. But he had been influenced by the Christians who had the spiritual wing. And that's why I keep hammering on this. And this young woman online that is so temporal. And she's getting more stern again, and more didactic, and more insistent, because she hasn't broken through herself to the spiritual. And of, she said, the reason we are here, the reason we are here is to get ourselves to heaven and to get our children to heaven. And I wrote back in the comments, of course I would, no, the reason we're here is to learn love, God's pure love. And I wrote about what God said to Catherine of Genoa and what Bernard of Clairvaux and many, 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 many mystics who had conversations with God and told them. And I wrote what I was told. I didn't say anything about me, but I just wrote it. I didn't say God said this. But it was an answer to something when my son was a little boy asked. Why are we here? What's the reason for us being here? In life, Mom, what, he tried to express it, and he did very well expressing why are we here? What's our reason for being alive? It was very profound. He was 8 years old or 9 years old at the time. And I said, well, we'll just pray about it, and then trust that God, you ask God tonight and I'll ask God. And then in the morning we'll get together and see if God gave us an answer. And at 3:00 a.m., I woke up, boom, and it wasn't when I had to keep getting up like I do now. But I woke up and I heard, to love, to learn to love. That's the reason why we're here. And then the more I read of great people that we can trust, that I can trust, that God would tell them things, like Catherine of Genoa and her lengthy, extended ecstasies in which God talked with her, that he is pure love. In fact, he says, I am not just love, I am pure love. That's why I keep calling him pure love now, because I update according to what God wants and has said he wants. To John, he had said, I am love. God is love. The Apostle John has that in his letters, God is love. Repeats that theme a lot. And also in his gospel. From John's is the love gospel. We are to learn to love as God loves, though, and practice that on others. So Michelle is welcome here. We'll practice. She needs some love. She's been plucked by God out of the temporal for good reasons. We don't know yet what exactly. Even for her spiritual growth. Look, already she's talking with Jesus day and night. He's her companion. Perfect. She did exactly as he wanted. He wanted her to turn to him, and she did in a big way. And I just think there's great things ahead for Michelle in the spiritual life. And yeah, the temporal world, temporal people, we have to have compassion. They don't get it like we get it. They haven't been touched. And they don't need to be, because God has them where he wants them. See, I'm the one that was leeching in, where, going where I shouldn't have. I was that frog, jumping in a place I wasn't to jump. I'm to jump in the water and stay down under. And I have another message that I should read. Find it real fast so that this isn't eons long. Has to do with the mole. He told me to stop being like a mole. And here it is. Wait until honor. I had that message in the night. Wait until honor. I thought, what on earth, Looked up honor in the Bible and did all that, which is good. I learned a lot. But then they said these words, so stop seeking me like a mole, which seeks acorns above ground, as a squirrel would, in the blinding daylight of hell. Rather, return to your natural spirit state of being. My natural spirit state of being. Allow your inner eye, soul eye, view clear truth in the darkest of inner night. If you wait until honor, I will come. Still a mystery. Wait until honor. I think it is maybe at death for me, or any of the times, obviously it could be this, any of the times that I practice his love. Honorably practice God is love. Live him. He is pure love. When we can live him as pure love. So for me, like in the situation that I got myself into, where I was trying to build up, pure love would be to anticipate, to understand. If I'm building this person up, it's like waving a red flag, you're down. And pride she didn't want to seem to be down. She says, I hope I haven't been acting like, I was upset or down or felt bad or wanted people to feel sorry for me. Well, and she hadn't acted that way. I wrote back, I said, no, I just perceived things very clearly. I saw for myself in the one instance of how this woman hit the ball for full force. Those balls can go like 60 miles an hour. They fly. They get these super paddles they're using now, the pros are. And those balls, and they're a hard ball with holes in it, which makes them even smack harder, right at her head to change the course of the game, because that other woman was behind. They were behind, and she can't tolerate losing. She'll cheat, she'll do anything. This time, she hit someone hard in the side of the head. Full force. And it changed the trajectory. And the ref did nothing. There's no sanctions given. They rarely do. But she was, I was just an accident. No, it wasn't. The crowds could see. The announcer could see. See, that riled me, because I have a big thing about injustice. I don't like it. I don't like it for anyone, but boy, I'm the mama bear still. Even though it's not wanted, the mama bear has to be slayed. No. I have to be slayed and become a bear rug. Just a nice little bear rug on the floor. And do what I call SWAP, shut up and pray, SUAP, yeah, SUAP, SWAP, and, or SWAP, I think SWAP, like, stop yourself from writing something or saying something. So pure love is anticipating and thinking, putting yourself and thinking what the other person's feeling. And if I know already the other person does, I was told I'm not even to read anything she writes online. She says, I told you. I said, no, you didn't. You told me I just could never comment. And I hadn't been. Oh, no, I told you can't even read it. Well, now it's softened. I can read it as long as I don't say anything to her at all. So I'm not going to. I realize God doesn't want me involved in all that anyway. What can I do about it except get my dander up? And pray, though. But I can pray regardless. I don't need to know the details of what's going on, the ugliness that has taken over, or the gossip, or the injuries, or whatever, cheating, or even how close the daughter was to getting a gold or silver medal until that woman hit her so hard that it threw her off. And her partner, too, was taken aback by it. It affects the team when somebody does something that obvious, and that, you become a little more cautious, a little more, and I can't imagine how that must have hurt, being hit in the ear like that. It's a wonder she's not deaf. But, and knowing, because they have history. This woman does things like that to anyone, though. If she's not winning, look out. So, but that's the temporal world. God doesn't want me dealing with that. He wants me learning and practicing pure love and talking about it, maybe sharing my poetry, I don't know. It's not mine. Like that last, wait until honor, that was all what God told me. And God speaks to you too. Write it down. This helps me. This is a good reminder. Stop seeking like a squirrel does above ground in the daylight of hell. God, he's great, isn't he? The imagery of that. I'm going to read that again if I can find it real fast. I thought that was really quite something here. Yes. So this is Michelle. If you see this video, think on this too. This God has you with Him, seeking down in the inner. He has you frozen right now, but you're thawing. You're among friends now. We're all your friends. We understand you. That's part of it. Like in the other poem I had read, just the misunderstanding that goes on in us, of us. It's painful. The human in us wants acceptance by everyone. And it just isn't going to work that way. Was Jesus accepted? Is he now? By everyone, or even by the majority? No. Not at all. And and was he misunderstood? Even in his own lifetime, among his own disciples, he was misstood all the time. So, reminder to the old lady here, this is the path. This is the path you're on. This is the path God wants me on. And get with it. Get with the program. And stop falling off. Stop leaching out from the little holy, narrow pathway. The way of the mystics. The way of the contemplatives. The way of the spiritual ones. So stop seeking me like a mole, which seeks acorns above ground. See, moles don't even have sight, really. They're underground animals, marsupials or something like that. Stop seeking me like a mole, which seeks acorns above ground as a squirrel would in the blinding daylight of hell. See, for us, for a mole, it would be blinding daylight of hell. We don't belong there. We don't belong in the temporal. Rather, return to your natural spirit state of being. Allow your inner eye, soul eye, view clear truth in the darkest of inner night. View clear truth with our soul eye, our inner eye, in the darkest of inner night. If you wait until honor, I will come. So we have to wait. We have to do as he says. And Michelle, it's uncanny how your life, your kids are like mine and probably like plenty of others. But God allows it for a reason. He has them in their temporal world, and he has you now in this world, the spiritual world. And intensively so. Not part way. It's all by degrees. Some people God has, he has them navigate both. Active contemplatives. Mystics with active missions, like Teresa of Avila. Oh, this young woman too, she started talking about mystics. And she said, well, Teresa of Avila became a mystic later on in life. No. So I'm writing away. No, she was born that she had a disposition as a little girl. She had this very deeply spiritual affinity and disposition, and only wanted to go to the convent, and had these ideas of great spiritual life as a young girl, and went in, I think, at age 16. But she got sidetracked by the other women, the other young girls, and fell into their ways of the socializing and the wearing the fine clothes and the eating the sweets and the townsladies coming and bringing them gifts. And it was just like a big sorority house. And she went along with that for like 20 years, but her innate being, her mystic self, her disposition born with as a mystic, started to gnaw at her. And she realized, this isn't what I'm in here for. And she started to do a reform, and they were nearly killed her for it. And about a handful of other women started realizing, she started living the way of a true, spiritually in tune Carmelite would live, according to the original rules and the format. And even more so, she developed it even more so. And about 5 other women joined in with her, 5 or 6. And one night, it got so bad, the hatred from the other women, they did not want their life of luxury, and they didn't like this change that she was trying to do, and resented her, envied her in a way, but resented also, because she was different. She was before, but she molded to them. She molded to the temporal for a few years there, 20 years or 18 years or something, and was miserable because it wasn't herself. But she tried to fake it. She tried to tell herself she liked it. She tried to make herself enjoy it. I've done that. In my married life and everything, and even after, my teapot collection, inviting people over for teas, and older women particularly, because at least I was doing something, because they wanted attention, they wanted conversation, and they loved it. That I, would fix these little British tea tartlets and things for them, and had my teapot collection that was fun, and my china and all from my erstwhile wedding. Wedding china. Used it, at least. Tried to make good. But yeah, so they ran those, Teresa and the other women, out with torches on fire, trying to burn them, trying to catch them on fire, and ran them out like they were a herd of burnt, pyromaniac, hate-filled, gonna get rid of you one way or another. And they had to flee for their lives, Teresa and these other women. But the bishop gave her an old, I think it was an old church, or a church that wasn't used, or a building, maybe it was a building that was in bad condition, and that was St. Joseph, her first foundation, her first house of, she called them foundations, first convent. And she had a great devotion to St. Joseph, a lot of communication with him. He would watch whatever convent she was in. When she would have to leave to found another, or wanted to leave too, she would go and found another. She'd have a call from God to go found another foundation in another area, of all in the area around Avila. But she'd walk, 2 or 3 days in all kinds of weather. And she'd leave a wood statue of St. Joseph on her chair in the refectory or whatever, and or chapter room or something, and he would keep track, and she would know when she'd get back, and all the sisters knew that she would know everything that would go on or anything that went wrong. St. Joseph would tell her, would tell on them. And it truly, it was all, the veil is thin between this world and the other world and the eternity. And that was a gift she had, a gift God gave her for her loyalty. Well, look at someone like me. I see, I'm fickle. I've been diddling around with pickleball and getting all wrought up and involved in the who's doing what and the cheating and the all of that stuff. And God needed my daughter to, get the bear gun out or get the fly swatter and swap. Don't want it. Don't want it from my mother. Don't want it from you, because there's some kind of history built up, evidently, of a resentment. I mean, the kid, they all want me to be normal. What kid wants a mother like this? When they were little, at first it was exciting and fun, but then as they got older and their older friends, high school and college, noticed their mother was, and I don't get it, and all of you probably don't get how you are, but other people probably perceive you as different or make little comments, or you're wise and you stay in your lane. See, I've been telling people stay in their lane, and I haven't. Not exclusively. I keep leaching out. So, but boy, Michelle, God is really, he made it like right now within a 3-year period. He had to do, he did called a lot of people, called a couple people home, her daughter and her husband, and they will be great supporters of her and helping her. Once she realizes that this is all God's, good, and that the other daughter is as well. It was harsh, but like with my kids, it's harsh, but it has helped me not be spread out. It's kept me more on the narrow, holy pathway. Even during the day in my prayer, even this morning in my upset, my bitter tears, I knew it needed to be this way. I'm a die-hard. I have hands that just grip. You see my purple fingernail probably. I got sort of criticized for that too. She thought it was a dead nail. She thought it's like my toes or something. I said, no. She says, is that purple? I said, well, yeah, it's Advent, Of course you'd have purple for Advent, purple fingernail polish. Who wouldn't, huh? See? But, I mean, I think so. But I said, oh, I didn't want to spend the time to do the rest. But this one has a crack in it. And it has a nail bed injury from when I was 35 or something. I forget what I did then. But it cracks, and the end of it sort of opened up. So, and with getting my hands in dirt or whatever, then I get dirt in the line that goes straight up, and it looked unsightly. So I put the purple polish on thick with a top coat, and it closed up the gap, and it's keeping it more secured. But I didn't take the time to do the rest because I didn't want to take the time to do that. I thought, well, it's not necessary. This is the only problem nail. And who sees me? But my daughter did, and she saw it. So she goes, okay. She takes it pretty well. I have to admit, we have to give them credit. A lot of credit. Because it was hard. I had a mother who was the English teacher in high school, sophomore year. And that was hard. Other kids had my mother as their teacher, and it was, embarrassing and whatever. If she said something or did something or lost her temper, the boys would set her up to lose her temper because they wanted to, just get a rise. And it wasn't nice to do that to her, but it would be very embarrassing to me. So it was a tough year. But I loved my mother. See, it's a conflict. So I get it. But I mean, something like being different in a big, in a broad kind of a way, in a basic way, that the mother doesn't get at all. And it's nothing I can really change. I can't just stop being as I was born. But I do try to mask it when I'm around her, but that doesn't work because she knows. See, so it's just one of those things. I have to just back off. I have to stay in my lane. And if there's an overture made, be grateful and do, and practice pure love. Not what me, the person, thought was going to build up or make her feel good. It did the opposite. Pure love is knowing and sensing what God sees of the person and knows of the person and knows of the relationship, and God's pure love would handle it just as she needed, not as I did. So this is good. It's practice, isn't it? It's practice time. And making mistakes, the tears maybe will imprint it in me a little more. But also it was, myself recognizing it's another chunk goodbye. It's a let go, let her have her friend. Of course she has her friends and stuff, but emotionally, I should not expect friendship. And I thought, being asked out to dinner, and she might want to talk over things with me. Oh, wow, won't that be fun? And somebody will want to talk with me about their issues, and no, she's got her girlfriend for that, and her fiance and all, and her son even. And I had to think, of course I did talk over some things with my mother, but a lot of things I couldn't. They were taboo topics. Like, anything with Catholicism, I couldn't. So, when she would find out certain things, and of course they were the negative things, that wasn't good. Then she would of course she felt so bad. She'd beg me to get out. They're hurting you. They don't appreciate you, No, that's part of it. That's part of dying to self. God has to allow things to happen. Once again, he doesn't view suffering as we do. And we can know that, but it still hurts. And it takes time and a lot of even praying and loving and forgiving of all sorts of situations and factors, including ourselves, to accept all these times we're frozen, that God has to freeze us, put us in the cocoon, but know there will always be the thaw. There'll always be the metamorphosis, over and over and over again, as He continues to perfect us, to create us into pure love. And that's the nugget, that's the honey. That's what we're going for. That's what keeps us loving and practicing love and wanting to know more and more about God, to become one with God, one in His pure love. That is, one in God's pure love. Now, we'll see if we can get this online, and I won't mess with it and take it off, I hope. Not that it's that great, but maybe there's something in it to be helpful. God bless His real presence in all of us, and thank you, Lord, for loving us so much that you need to do whatever it is you need to do to help me learn pure love and help all my friends here to learn even more pure love. You all are so loving already. I'm learning love from you too.